All right, so everyone, this is a returning guest. Please subscribe to this podcast, like, and also share this video. We have Dan Gaffney, the star of Dan Gaffney Show. It's from 5:30 to 9 a.m. on Delaware 105.9 FM. Definitely check it out. So, Dan, thanks so much for coming back on. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rob.
What is your opinion on the Biden administration? Is what they're, coming in, the people that are in it, and also what you think they're going to get done in their first term?
I don't know. I'm actually looking forward to it. No surprises. I mean, I think you knew what you were going to get when he was elected. So I don't think there's been, to me, any surprises, the usual litany of people in his staff, whatever. What's he going to get accomplished in his first 100 days? I don't know. That's what I want to see. I'm curious to see what happens with this pandemic legislation, if he's able to get that through. I'm not so sure he's going to be that successful, even though there's a Democrat-led House and a 50-50 in the Senate. That's the big question, right, Rob? I don't have a crystal ball, so.
I listen to your show daily. I hear what the callers have to say. And why do you think there's so many calls that are on the right side of the aisle as far as their hatred toward Joe Biden? Why do you feel that is?
Well, we're in Delaware. They've seen, we're in a very, my listening area is the southern part of the state. It's a very conservative area. Many people have watched Joe Biden for decades here and are certainly aware of what he has or has not done. And they're just not fans, I mean, I've said this before. People in southern Delaware, Joe has a house here in Rehoboth Beach. We like Joe Biden when he's having an ice cream cone and sitting on the boardwalk. We don't like him so much when he's trying to legislate. And a lot of people would love it if he were, swimming in a swimming pool, walking down the beach with his big shorts on or something like that. That would be a great Joe Biden. President Joe Biden, they're not that much of a fan of, okay? Right. So they're friendly people here, nice people, but don't take it personally. I think it's just the position he is in, they don't appreciate that he is.
Well, the one thing that I think he does bring is that empathy and going through those trials and tabulations with his son dying, Bo, obviously his daughter and his wife dying. So he does bring that to the office, which I think is good, that empathy as far as having those trials happen throughout his life.
I'm just not going to be one of those people like the never Trumper types. I'm not going to dedicate the next 4 years of my life obsessing and playing gotcha with everything Joe Biden does. I got other things going on in my life, as you do as well. I'm not going to be one of those psychopaths who just become obsessed with hating Joe Biden and everything he does and every minutia and every little jot, dot, everything he says we have to criticize and think that we're finally going to bring him down. I'm just not going to live my life that way. When he does good, he'll do good. If he does bad, I'll say something, but I'm not going to go off the deep end. I think a lot of Trump hater types went off the deep end.
Right.
I'm certainly not going to go that way.
Well, that's where the Republicans and the conservatives have a case that they can attack Joe Biden as many times as they want, because that's what the liberals did to Donald J. Trump, 24/7, 365. Right. That's where they made their money. CNN, MSNBC, and the list goes on and on. So I understand that, and I understand that with
undoubtedly will be people who attack Joe Biden with the same fervor that people attack Donald Trump. Undoubtedly, there will be those people. I'm not going to be that person. I'll attack him and I'll have criticisms, but it's not ruling my life.
Right. Well, I think those people were jerks that did it to Donald Trump. Listen, I can disagree with Donald Trump. I can say that when he comes into office, when he did in 2017, that I hope the best for him. And I do believe a lot of the rhetoric that he said, but I don't think that, if we keep going back and forth with, we blame Biden, we blame Trump, we blame the next Republican president that gets in, nothing's ever going to get solved in this country. It's just going to be total partisanship for the rest of my adult life, my kids, or my grandkids, whoever it may be. So it's really sad, and we'll grow up in a country that's going to be subpar, unfortunately.
Right.
you kind of dived into this with the Stop the Steal. Can you tell people that are listening, because we do have a lot of progressive listeners, what is this Stop the Steal nonsense? Why don't a lot of conservatives believe that Joe Biden won this election fair and square?
Well, they may believe it now, but I mean, initially, why not stop the steal? There were going to be recounts. There were lawsuits. We were waiting to see if anything would come of them. So stop the steal was sort of a rallying cry around, let's just wait and see. We got to count the Electoral College votes. This might go to the Supreme Court. A lot of people were hopeful. So it was a wait and see. I think there's fishy stuff with the election. It needs to be solved. As far as I am concerned, though, he did win. Whether he cheated or not, he's the president, got a deal. We got to learn to cheat better next time.
I mean, I disagree, and we'll go one more time at this. My thing is that, first of all, Trump had those 67 court cases. They all went against him, except, I believe, for one. A lot of these were...
Agree. But the whole stop the steal was, we're going to wait and see. Let's see what happens in these court cases. Let's see what happens. You're right. Nothing happened. So we got to accept it. We got to accept the fact that
there's people still talking about this, Dan. Georgia, this is Kemp, the governor over there, and the Secretary of State. The governor was endorsed by Donald J. Trump. Trump went over there twice, did big rallies for him. The Secretary of State, again, is a Republican. Mail-in ballots was because of the coronavirus. That exists in Florida. The president votes by mail-in ballot. President Trump did. So, I mean, you can make up all this silliness, and all these people can say all this stuff. And I know everybody wants their guy to win, but when you have all this evidence against that issue with Stop the Steal, you got to kind of say, hey, listen, my guy didn't win. Let's go after him next time, whether the president runs for another election or not, or there's another Republican candidate. So what do you say about all this other stuff?
If Republicans feel that Joe Biden stole the election through cheating, they need to learn to cheat just like them and do it better. If cheating is what it's going to take to win, they need to learn to cheat.
But how was it cheating, though, Dan?
I didn't say it was. I'm saying if Republicans feel it was cheating, they need to learn to cheat.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll move on.
If that's the new playing field, right? If this is the new playing field, they need to, learn how to rig a voting machine. Republicans do.
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about voting machines, we could go back to what happened in Florida in 2000, what happened back in Ohio in 2004. So, I mean, I'm not going to keep complaining about that. Those were people that I liked, Al Gore, John Kerry in 2004. I'm not going to go back and fight the fights they lost. That was up to them. And the thing I'll give to the Republicans as we move on to the next question is the Republican Party, whether it's the politicians or the aides, they know how to fight. They know how to fight for elections. They have good news outlets such as Fox News that repeat rhetoric that I disagree with, but people believe that stuff. And I think that's a big problem in America, that the Democrats don't know how to fight and the Republicans know how to win a fight. So... But we'll move on to January 6th. So January 6th, we know what happened at the event. I believe President Trump egged a lot of those people on to go out there and do these things. Remember, at the end of the speech, I watched the whole speech and I've listened to it multiple times. President Trump said, I'm going to be marching with you, when we all know he took the ride back to the White House and those people were duped. So what is your opinion on January 6th, 2021?
QAnon is a cult. I think it was primarily spurred on by the QAnon phenomena. Crazy belief system. I hope people reject from this point forward, if they haven't already, any QAnon conspiracies and QAnon websites. You got to get out of that, break free from that. It has poisoned your mind. It has poisoned the mind of those people that attacked the Capitol. And it was disgusting. Obviously, I'm on record of saying, it was a disgusting display, criminal act. No, I did not endorse that whatsoever.
Well,
most of the people in Washington, the vast majority were there to just go to a rally, and they were very peaceful. That was a small percentage of people. A lot of people small percentage of people at the Capitol, that was the fringe QAnon and who knows what other crazy group fringe element of Trump supporters. They don't speak for all Trump supporters.
I agree. I agree
Yeah.
with that. And I think that Democrats saying that all Trump supporters are terrorists, that's another reason why there's so much partisanship in America. You have to, and I said this on your show, you have to dive deep into why these people voted for Trump, the poverty in this country, the lack of health care rather in this country, and the belief systems that these people believe in. And you have to come to those people and figure out why they're not voting for you. The Democratic Party has stepped away from that. I think that's why they lost a lot of elections, as such as not having a blue wave in 2020. So you have to figure out why those people voted that way, and calling them racists and terrorists is not the way to do that.
Right. I agree with you again, Rob. A lot of Democratic candidates are bad candidates. So
right,
yeah, I agree with you.
But I want to talk back about the QAnon stuff. You just said, and I agree that, denouncing QAnon is the way to go. As living in Delaware, and I interviewed this woman too, Lauren Witzke, who ran for Senate over there, and obviously Chris Coons won big there, but still, and I know you stood against Lauren Witzke and the craziness that she was saying.
Didn't vote for her. I voted for a third party on that. On that race, in that race, I voted for the independent guy.
My thing is, President Trump did stand up for QAnon quite a few times while he was president. Said these people like me, and if they like me, that's great. Why not just go out there as such as the Proud Boys?
He was asked about it, and I've just recently watched that clip. I think he said, "I don't know a lot about them. I understand they like me very much."
Yeah.
And then the reporter said, "They say you're the guy who is killing or fighting a satanic cult of pedophiles and blah, blah." And then Donald Trump said, "Is that a bad thing? If I can take out evil, I would love to do that." So he may have been caught off guard. Maybe you think he knew all about Q and he was being coy. But, technically that's how it went down when he was asked about it. He wasn't really endorsing Q. He just said, "I don't know a lot about them. I understand they like me very much, so that's good." And then the reporter asked about the satanic pedophile stuff, and he said, "Is that a bad thing? Is this a good or a bad thing that I'm fighting Satanism and pedophiles?"
Well,
so I don't know. Did he really know about it? Was he a cheerleader for it? Did he bring it up all the time? I don't know. He didn't.
Well, we talk about people playing dumb. I think that was playing dumb. So to end this topic on QAnon and white supremacy in general, Trump obviously is out of office. We've heard many things at his rallies and during the time he was as president of the United States. Do you believe that now the Pandora box is open? We saw what happened on the 6th. We see the rise in white supremacy. We see the rise in QAnon. That Trump opened that box and you can't shut it, whether you have somebody like Trump coming out against these people, Joe Biden, or whoever it may be.
I don't know, Rob. I honestly don't know if Trump opened the box. I think there's a box that was opened and they gravitated toward President Trump. I'm not so sure he opened the box. I'm just not so sure.
Well, if we go back to Republican leaders such as George W. Bush, Bob Dole, who ran against Bill Clinton, and the list goes on, you didn't see these.
In other words, do you hold the candidate? We'll call him candidate Trump. Do you hold the candidate responsible for all of his followers? I don't. Bernie Sanders.
But Dan, we didn't see the vitriol.
When the guy shot the Republicans at the softball game and he was a Bernie Sanders supporter, it's not fair to hold Bernie Sanders responsible for that.
I agree with that, but we see
someone commits violence and they're a big crazy supporter of Obama. It's not fair to blame President Obama. Is it fair to blame? Just a question. Is it fair to blame President Trump because there's a big fringy group that likes him? Does that mean he was responsible for that? I don't know.
But we don't see the vitriol at Obama and Bernie Sanders rallies, at George W. Bush rallies when he was president, John McCain rallies when he ran in 2008. Remember, there was a rally for John McCain in 2008. A woman came and she said, "I won't vote for that Muslim." And they started saying very bad words against President Obama, well, not Senator Obama, rather, when he was running. And John McCain said, "I don't stand for this. I don't, he basically kind of pushed that woman away when Sarah Palin was actually digging that vitriol up at her rallies, if you remember that.
Well, I don't know what she dug up. I just ask you the question.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Is it Donald Trump's fault that there's a bunch of fringy, crazy people that like him?
Well, I think that the vitriol that he brings toward the rallies, I think that's what has got these people all upset, along with bad policies by Democrats and Republicans. So I believe that it's a mix of both, with the vitriol that the Trump rallies brought, but also these people, again, are hurting. There's COVID, there's poverty right now that's out of control. People don't have jobs. People don't have money in their pockets. So if you put all that stuff together and you see that politicians on both sides of the aisle aren't doing anything for you, whether jobs are going overseas in the Clinton administration, George W. Bush administration, which had the financial meltdown of 2008, all this stuff keeps happening, and someone comes and says, we're gonna bring the troops back. We're gonna make sure you get health care for everybody, and all this other language. You're gonna like this guy, and that's what Trump did. That's why I almost voted for President Trump in 2016, because his rhetoric sounded somewhat like Bernie Sanders on trade, on healthcare, but he didn't do any of those things, in my opinion. So,
okay, fair enough.
So where is that Trump movement going to go? Could it go to Cruz, Hawley? Where is it going to go?
I think it has a lot to do with what happens with this impeachment in the Senate. If they go through the Senate trial, I think is a lot up in the air. Trump made a comment the other day that he's not ready to announce what he's going to do next. I think it has a lot to do with what happens in the Senate. So I can't really predict, right? I mean, who knows? I also think that because of social media, Donald Trump has been neutered to some extent. He's going to have to find another direct communication platform. See, he does not have Twitter. He cannot directly talk to me anymore. He can't send me a message directly like he used to do. Right. So that's extremely harmful to him. He's got to find a way to directly communicate. One of his strengths was Twitter. He gets criticized for that. It was one of the strengths, though. He completely eliminated the need for a news media. He completely eliminated the need for a lot of things by directly communicating one-on-one with the voter. He's got to get that back if he's going to regain anything. I don't know if he gets back on Twitter, if they let him back in, or there's a news, if he goes on the new Parler or wherever he goes, he's going to have to regain that if he's going to have any power, because he's not going to get a fair shake in any media coverage. So he needs that direct communication. So whatever he does, he's going to need that first. If he wants to stay in politics, he's going to need that. So he may have to create some sort of media empire and run in politics. He might have to do both.
Quickly, before we move on to some Delaware issues, my thing is, what do you think about Parler? I know you talked about, you can disagree if I didn't get this right, that you went on there and you saw what's going on there. So what do you think of Parler? And by the way, I also disagree with the censoring of Donald Trump and other people, especially Donald Trump. I think
we both should be very scared about that. We both should be very concerned about that. All of the America and the world ought to be concerned about this kind of silencing of voices. It's very scary, very dangerous. That's the most dangerous thing I think has happened. Right. But Parler, I had a Parler account. I never saw anything vile, never saw anything terrible in it. I didn't think it was that easy to use. Okay. It wasn't that great.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on. So I do want to talk about Delaware. I want to talk about Delaware Republicans. I know you had Julianne Murray on quite a few times throughout the election cycle of 2020. She lost Kent County by 3,000 votes, which is pretty not much nothing. Obviously, won Sussex County, the county that you cover, but got crushed in Newcastle. Why is Newcastle so hard for Republicans in Delaware to win?
Yeah, great question. Become a Democrat, and then you might win. It's like any other, look at all the states, right? The populated areas are Democrat, the city, the rural areas are Republican. Same thing here. It's a small state, the downstate area, very rural, very Republican, generally speaking. The city of Wilmington, which is Newcastle County, city of Wilmington, it's a city, so it's very Democrat. So that's
why
the
would
big
you
difference.
see that Castle won and he was so, he was pretty beloved as a Republican in Delaware as governor and congressman, but other people can't.
Well, that's been a long time ago too. I mean, I think the Democrat voter registration keeps climbing, widening the gap with the Republicans. Republicans haven't had a very good organized game, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. So let's end the interview with this. I want to talk a little bit about COVID as we end. So can you tell the viewers what's going on with COVID in Delaware?
Hospitalizations are down. The vaccine rollout is going on. They did like 11,000 vaccinations over the weekend. I'm burned out on it. So tired of it. Hate wearing a mask. I wear it. Don't like it. It's just draining, like it is everywhere.
Dan, we talk about the mask, and do you believe that, I know people have mixed feelings on the mask, but we saw that over 400,000 people have died with what's going on with COVID in this country. I don't want to dive deep into, people that, oh yeah, target, it's more people that have health effects, because I've saw people that have been 28, 31 years old in the state of Florida that have died, that are around my age. But my thing is, President Trump made the mask as a joke, where Joe Biden did not. And, we could go back and forth on that. But I go back to 2001 when 9/11 happened, when the Twin Towers went down. You come from a military family. I know your son is in the military. So this affects you. Remember when George W. Bush was down on ground zero and he told everybody to wave the flag and we're going to come together. We're going to get the terrorists. Why couldn't President Trump do that about COVID, with the mask? Say, we're going to wear the mask. We're going to defeat the virus. This is one of the reasons where if he did this, I truly believe he could have won this election in a landslide victory, showing leadership. People loved President Bush at that time. They were waving flags out of the cars. You remember this. You were in radio at this time. What happened to the country? Why didn't Trump do this?
I remember at the beginning of COVID, the doctors were saying masks don't work.
That's true. Good point. Fauci said that. I agree.
And the CDC said, don't wear a mask. Don't buy masks. Remember that? Then they changed. Oh yeah, we meant to tell you you're supposed to wear a mask. It's no one, is it really working, Rob? We've all been wearing masks, okay? And you just did all those great totals about the terrible tragedy. So are the masks working or not working? Would it be worse with the mask or without the mask? Tell me.
Well, you could go toward the states that do have mask Listen, there's bad leadership in this crisis in general, and it does come from Democrats and Republicans.
We've been wearing masks in Delaware for months and months and months, and we're still having COVID lockdowns and COVID problems, and the restaurant can only open at 30%. So is the mask working or is it not working? Everywhere you go, every store, every public place, everybody's got a mask on. So is it working or not working?
Well, we look at what happens in Florida, and if you want to wear the stores say you have to wear the mask, but there's people that come in that still don't wear the mask. But
can you blame, is that who we're blaming for the COVID cases? Or is COVID just a virus? It is a virus and you can't really do much to protect yourself?
Well,
I mean, seriously.
I wouldn't blame people, but I would blame on the leadership of the government at the time that it happened. And this doesn't just go with Donald Trump. This goes, to Democrats in as far as governors. This also goes to Nancy Pelosi. This goes to Dr. Fauci. That I agree with you that he said it came out at the beginning. It said that you shouldn't wear a mask. Where they should have said is said you have to wear a mask, but we have to start having people. We urge you to make masks. And have people, make masks, sell them on the side of the road. If we did those things, there would be no problem. Plus, also, if we had a stockpile where we had the masks.
Yeah, but I thought that's what we eventually did. Don't forget,
they did it too late. They did it too late. And then it became a political issue and all that jazz. So that's where I feel like we lost the country. And now it's so far lost that everybody's arguing now with the Democratic president that,
By the way, was it true or not true that Joe Biden signed that mask mandate about wearing a mask on federal property and then went to the Lincoln Memorial federal property without a mask? Was that true or not true? Did you see that?
I saw that, but I didn't check into it. And it's not just because I like Joe Biden. I didn't check
the timestamp.
Yeah, no. And if he did that, that's bad leadership. But I give Joe Biden credit that all of his rallies, they really pushed for mask wearing. They did really wear masks as far as Joe Biden, his wife, and people that spoke up on stage about it. So I do give him credit for that. And I think he's shown great leadership. Again, if Joe Biden does something where I disagree, I'm more than welcome to stand out against him. I will do it 100%. Let's end the interview with this. We talk about, and I know this has been an issue in Florida, but I heard you on the air speak about it as an issue in Delaware, the vaccine distribution. How has it been in as far as in Delaware, rather?
Well, people had appointments to go to a drive-through vaccination center for people over 65 on Saturday. They gave them a half-hour window. Some people waited in their cars for 6 hours.
Gee.
So it's kind of a bummer on Saturday, but they got it together Sunday,
Okay.
I guess they fixed the problem.
All right.
It's all right, I guess,
Yeah, I want to end with this.
I'm not in line. Are you going to get, I'm stepping back and letting others get their vaccination first. I'm sacrificing myself.
Well, in Florida, you can't get a vaccine unless you're over 65 right now, or healthcare. So that's fine. But I do think people that have disabilities or have some sort of, like if there's people that are in prisons, they should do that because that could be a whole contamination thing. I know people say, oh, because they're in prison, they shouldn't get it. But you got to think of the guards. You got to think of the people that work in the prisons.
Yeah, it probably save you money in the long run to give inmates the COVID vaccine. You don't want them to be sick and taking up resources and all that nonsense. Yeah. I would think, they should give them. They should give the COVID vaccine to people in prison, I think.
At the beginning of the crisis, you said that this was not a big deal. It was just the flu. Many people called in this show and said the same thing. It was just the flu, and they would never take the vaccine. There's people still saying that. Again, over 400,000 people have died. Have you changed your tune? What would you say to these people that you told and other listeners regurgitated on the air that said 400,000 people, it's just the flu, it's going to go away, when it's really not going to go away?
I don't think I said it was going to go away. I think my opinion was, and still is, I'm not too concerned about it. For me personally.
Well, what would you say to the people that are listening in that do have health issues that, if they don't wear a mask or if they get this, they could drop dead, in plain English?
Well, I don't know, Rob. What do you say to anybody that can catch something and drop dead? I mean, take care of yourself, wash your hands, take precautions. What do you want me to say? I'm not a doctor.
No, I'm not trying to push your buttons. I just think that as we end, that people listen to you, and your listeners, they love you. They love you.
Answering truthfully. I'm just answering truthfully about how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I still think the whole thing's been overblown. I just still think the whole thing's been overblown.
But Dan, 400,000 people and counting. Come on.
How many people normally die, Rob, during this time?
But if we had our act together, we had good leadership.
Long before COVID. It's a public speaker I know. was talking about death, right? He would come out on stage. This is long before COVID.
Mhm.
He would say, every second, someone on this earth dies.
Mhm.
Every second.
But we're talking about preventable deaths.
Every second, there's someone dying, right?
Mhm.
So that's always the case when you look at death statistics. So I don't know. How are we? How high are we? Are we higher than normal or not higher than normal with death? I don't know. Death is always here, Rob. Every second, someone's going to walk off into eternity. Does the reason really matter?
But
That's
these
a
are
philosophical
preventable deaths, Dan, and we're talking to people that are in the media, people that are president of the United States, that people listen to. They put them up on a mantle, which is sad, like Jesus Christ. And it's really sad that they do that. But they do listen to people like you in the media. They do listen to people like Donald Trump. And if they listen to these people and believe what they say,
look, people just ask my opinion of it.
yeah.
And so I have a kind of an opinion. I'm not fear mongering about it. I'm not running around like Chicken Little about it. So all I can do is answer honestly.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I wish everyone would take off their mask. You know what I really wish? I wish we would take off our masks. This is what I actually hope, and you can be mad at me if you want. I wish we would take off our masks, get back to normal, open up the schools, everybody go out, have a great time. Let the virus burn through the community quickly, get to herd immunity, and we move on.
All right. I'm going to disagree with No, I mean, hey, everyone has free will.
I gotta take a sip. I'm having some bat soup.
Oh, I thought you were going to do a little commercial in the middle of this.
Right.
The problem was we had bad leadership from the top on down. We have people that are leaders in this country, Democrats and Republicans, that do not have good leadership skills, that do not how to pull people together through a crisis. Again, and we disagree. I think if Trump acted like George W. Bush, and I do not like George W. Bush, I think he was one of the worst presidents we ever had.
Yeah, but wait a second. George W. Bush, Donald Trump, Joe Biden cannot stop a virus. They can't. They can't stop a virus. You can't stop it. I can't stop it. They can't stop it. We can mitigate. They can't stop it.
Well, the vaccine will stop the virus and mask along with that.
Right. There's your 9/11 moment. There's the country coming together. There's your leadership to get that vaccine out.
But again, it would have been a lot better if Donald Trump actually did his job and actually prepared Joe Biden.
The vaccine, right?
Well, they didn't prepare it. No one's getting the vaccine, Dan. You just said people are waiting in line for 6-7 hours.
Yeah, but they got it. They got it.
Well, I know a lot of people.
You give them any credit for that? You give them any credit for having the vaccine?
Well, that's the Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson that are making the vaccine. What does that have to do with Donald Trump? He's not over there doing the research and getting the vaccine done.
Operation Warp Speed created the atmosphere and the drive, like we're going to go to the like the moonshot to get this thing developed at warp speed. Remove the barriers, do the testing, help out in every way we can, and he got a vaccine because of that from these companies in record time. You don't give him any credit for that?
No, and not Donald Trump. But I give the companies credit. Well, how come Joe Biden comes in and he fired all those people that were working on Operation Warp Speed because they weren't prepared to put the vaccine out? Now Joe Biden, he wants to get those 100 million vaccines in the first 100 days. They can't get that done because they weren't prepared. The administration had no one in there that was doing their job, and that's why people are still not getting their vaccines.
Yeah. That's why the vaccine's out there. right? Because they didn't do their job. That's why we have the vaccine, because they didn't do their job.
But those are the researchers, Dan. Come on. You're giving too much credit to Trump.
You're not giving any credit to him.
When he deserved credit, I will give him credit. I haven't seen much.
So Operation Warp Speed, you're saying without Operation Warp Speed, we'd still have the vaccine?
Yeah, I think we have talented.
We had it for 5 years, 10 years.
Trump was trying to push out those vaccines before they were ready, and they weren't tested on people. Remember that, Dan, before the election. Remember, you said he was trying to get it out in October. All right. So thanks so much, Dan, for coming on. I appreciate your time. Dan Gaffney Show, 5:30 to 9, Monday through Friday, Delaware 105.9 FM. Listen on the Listen Live app. You can search Forever Media, rather. And also, he's on Saturdays from 9 to 12.
Right on. Thank you, Rob.
Right, Dan. Thanks so much. I'll catch you later.